Hey TV fans, Bored Now back with you. On this video I'm going to be reviewing Sunny, episode 5. The episode is called Joey Sakamoto. Full spoilers from the start of this review as always. So this episode wasn't bad. I would say I like it more than last week's, which I thought was pretty dull at times. But I probably don't like it as much as the opening 3 episodes. I would say it's weaker than those. I enjoyed it was just because it has quite a focused sort of structure. Like, there's not so much jumping about like scenes and different characters than we've had in some of the other episodes. And one of the things I tend to quite enjoy of like road trips, this has that sort of feel because you do follow Sunny, Susie and Mitzi on this journey for most of the episode. They're still on the run and they're heading towards this village, into this like kind of a struggle to get there. So some hijinks, train doesn't show up, and at one point Mitzi says, "My bad, I might have got the schedule wrong, maybe the train doesn't run anymore." So that they end up going on foot, and it's a bit of a trek, and there's just all sorts of things that come up. So some threats, like there's a scene involving a bear at one point randomly. There's this mysterious stranger who Susie doesn't know where he came from. At one point he seemed to appear on the train platform out of nowhere, and they stumble across him again later in like the woods. He's got an injury on his head and is acting all a bit weird, so they think he might be stalking them. Because I'm quite enjoying the dynamic of these 3 characters together, and I quite like the 3 characters in general, and most of the episode is the 3 of them. I quite enjoyed it. Mostly some of this I think is partly them trying to put a bit of doubt in the audience mind about whether Mitzi can be trusted, because she does have this mysterious nature to her. Highlights of the show continues to be kind of the rivalry, if you like, between Mitzi and Sunny, and them trying to compete with each other for like Susie's affections, and I quite like that. He at one point is convinced that she knows the way, and then later on they seem to be going off on the wrong path, and she has a little bit of a breakdown and says, "I'm so sorry, I was convinced this was the right way and now I'm not sure it is." And Sunny is like all over her and is on that, like she's just shown no mercy, and that makes Susie like sympathetic, and it's like it's an easy mistake and all that. Like I said, it's a bit random, but I think that's what they're doing. They're doing that thing of creating a little bit of doubt whether Mitzi can be trusted. Like, is she setting them up for some lesson for Sunny, or it's a lesson which Susie is trying to teach Sunny, and that is the lesson of people screw up, you have to be sympathetic, everybody makes mistakes. So it's another lesson which Sunny, because she's like a robot, might not understand. So I like it from that point of view. I think I can see why some people wouldn't like this episode though, because it does feel like not a lot actually happened in the plot. And that's definitely true, and it's this feeling of, well, it's just them going on this, it's just them going to this place, and it's them back and forth all the time, and there's not a lot of meat to it, there's not a lot on the plot, and there's definitely some things in there like the stuff I just mentioned, but I agree, I can see how in another way it's a little bit of a middling episode, and there's some of that stuff going on, but just because I do enjoy these 3 characters and I quite enjoy them as a trio, I quite like the chemistry between Mitzi and Susie, so because of that I didn't mind it as like this sort of middle ground episode in the middle of a show. Much confirmed than Susie is probably bi at this point, because she tells this story at one point about like an incident between her and a teacher in the past, And the sort of punchline is when Mitzi thinks it's a he and she corrects her, it's like actually she. And there's just this pause moment, and Mitzi's like, oh, okay, like something romantic with her and Mitzi at some point. I know at one point, like in an emotional scene, they hold hands. Another quite amusing scene is the underpants scene with Susie when she's going toilet, and she's got these massive sort of underpants and she's being run down by Mitzi or teased. And again, Sonny comes to her defense and like is jumping all over. It's like, yeah, you should feel comfortable wearing whatever under your pants you want. So that stuff is like pretty amusing. Probably like the weakest stuff in this episode might just be the fact that, as I said, we don't find out anything that new, but also the flashbacks don't really reveal that much. They don't really like add that much more to the mystery or the intrigue, along the lines of the inconsistency of Musher's personality, because the opening flashback is him showing up drunk for the son's play, and drunk, and he's out of sorts. Susie at one point and swears at her, and there's also this thing of he swears in Japanese, and I quite like her line about, if you're going to insult me in English, and that once again goes a little bit to the sort of Lost in Translation type vibes. But yeah, stuff like that, it doesn't really add that much. It doesn't really give us that much more to think about. It's actually the memory which Sonny has at one point, and that is of her being apprehended by Mercer at some point and told he needs her help, and it's just him being really frantic, and it seems to be like then it's probably on the same day. I think that's the implication. Then it lines up. Then they're on the same day as he showed up all drunk and frantic at the school play, and that. So it's something to do with. But again, because of the way Sonny's memories work, she can't remember exactly what happened. Mother-in-law, and it's just her looking around, because she. Again, these scenes maybe don't serve that much of a purpose. She doesn't know yet that Susie and the rest have gone missing, have gone on the run. So she finds that out because Susie isn't in her room and she can't find her anywhere. But she just starts looking around, and the only big thing about it is then it's a nice little tender moment later on where she gets to mourn her son almost for the first time properly, without all this drama. Just sees a bunch of his stuff and in the room and is kind of upset and mourns, and that's actually quite a nice link to like the end of the episode, really, with Susie, where they finally get to this village place and they have like it's some sort of ceremony. Stuff with the bear was a bit random, but it was quite amusing. We get an amusing moment of them singing. They sing the I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. I don't know how that works. I think by the end of the scene it seems like they've actually put the bear to sleep by singing, so I guess that must be it's just this random sort of comedic beat, which I don't think you're meant to take that seriously, but it's just a funny way to pay that off. Then once the bear sort of dozes off to them singing really badly, I've got to say, in Mitzi's case, not that I'm complaining, but then they can make a dash for it. There's not that much to the episode, and that's maybe why it's a bit of a disappointing episode to many people. But because I do like these characters, like the main three, and I like them as a trio, and it gives it a little bit of a caper feel, and it is focused mostly rather than jumping about scenes like other episodes had. So I like it partly because of that. So I'm not saying it's like as good as the early episodes, but I do prefer it to last week's, and it's pretty solid overall. And we'll see where we go from here. But that's Sunny, episode 5, Joey Sakamoto. Let me know your thoughts. If you've seen it in the comments, like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.